If there is even just a financial reset due to the collapse of the US dollar, then it will be more than an unpleasant, albeit temporary, period in time. The turmoil and suffering that will take place will be much more than most can imagine. Try going to a third world country. Experience firsthand how difficult life is and what crime is like. That's what we will get for at least a generation here in America when this comes to fruition. I like precious metals, but we will need much more than that to get through it all. It will be unpleasant but will not last a generation, unless the sociopathic predators, the 1%, somehow defeat the good people of the world, 75%. The useful puppets that fall between these extremes, 24%, don't matter. As for gold, we do know that central banks and sovereigns still value it as the ultimate reserve holding. They may dabble in crypto with their other fiat holdings, but they hold much more gold and sometimes much less gold than their face cards reveal. Why is this? Because when the music stops and the true amounts are revealed, we will know the reason why. Technology does make things different. It is a betrayal like never before, but as Thomas Kuhn has argued quite solidly, our scientific revolutions cannot be logically proven to be sound evidence of progress or improvement, as measured by history and the hindsight of our unpredictable futures. Time reveals all. With the national debt officially at $29 trillion and the additional, missing, $21 trillion discovered by economics professor Mark Skidmore at Michigan State University in 2017, we have a huge amount of debt and dollars floating around. The only thing still holding up the dollar is its universal use as a contract settlement mechanism in Russia and China and everywhere else, and that simply is not happening anymore. The global over-indebtedness has clearly restrained growth. A quick and dramatic shift toward greater accommodation by the Fed could begin to shift momentum from contraction toward expansion. The more the central banks print, the less the value of the currency. It's inflation, but also the return on each dollar invested goes down too. This is why fiat money printing will ruin itself. It's the snake eating its tail. The Fed is determined to produce inflation, the dollar's going to fall, and this will exacerbate the stock bubble, with stocks going through the roof. That's how it happened in Zimbabwe when their dollar was weakened. Their stock market soared. Now the US Treasury via the Fed will intervene directly and unilaterally to drive the US dollar lower, much lower. So the US stock market will soar, because inflation will make corporate profits look better, but it will be a mirage. The better place to be is in gold and silver. The fall in the value of the US dollar will be accompanied by the creation of more paper money without value via financial assets increasing in value. There ultimately is no substance to asset values, so when money eventually dies, so do asset values. While prices for debt rose, and rates fell, for every dollar borrowed, $2 in wealth came into being. One cascaded through the GDP economy when it was spent. A second came into being as an asset, a receivable on the bondholder's balance sheet. 2 for 1. What genius thought of it? It was an artifact of a bond bull market, one that by all appearances ended in 2016. While it ran, the quantity of debt issued had no limit. And an ocean of bonds was filled. As bonds were issued, they amplified economic activity in one industry after another. The new jobs in those industries yielded income and savings. The savings largely found its way back into demand for bonds. What a great Ponzi scheme. Each dime of all that debt is someone's asset. Pensions are a form of debt. Promised entitlement spending is a form of debt. All told, the number of future cash flows promised truly unimaginable. If rates continue higher, no group of men can control the largest market on planet Earth, the debt market. Eventually we'll hit our Minsky moment, when debt holders stop worrying about return on their money and begin to worry about the return of their money. If it sets off a stampede, bond values will collapse, along with all the pensions, wealth, and entitlements promised. Paradoxically, surviving claims on dollars should rise in purchasing power during that period, same as a dollar bought 9 times more DJIA in 1932 than it did in April 1930. In 2024, as the money begins to run out, the freaks in Washington will begin to raid everyone's, who is not a public employee, retirement money. Yes, people are coming for your money, and they don't give a damn what you think about it. They will come for your 401ks first, no cash out, mandated UST holding, annuity-only payouts, for your protection, of course, most sheep will accept it. Social Security has no money. Workers pay FICA taxes to the Social Security Administration, SSA, and the Social Security Administration turns it over to the U.S. Treasury. In return, the U.S. Treasury gives the Social Security an IOU. So there is no pile of money sitting somewhere, just IOUs. The endgame commenced a long time ago. The House of the City of London does not care about getting repaid. It simply offers credit created by the borrower's promise to pay, which in turn must be collateralized with real wealth. Just pay the interest, the globalists are happy. Don't pay, and the globalists foreclose on your country and steal its resources and all available wealth of the population and enslave it. By controlling a nation's debt, they control the government and its laws. As proclaimed by Mayor Amschel Rothschild, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." Everything you think you own, that is used as collateral for the loan to buy it, like a house, car, etc., will simply be seized by the banks, as Jubilee dollars, which is debt, will go to zero like all other debts in a Jubilee, and the now worthless dollars will become useless to pay back your loans. So the collateral, your home, car, etc., will be seized by the banks for non-payment under your loan agreement. Given past history, it is clear that at some point, this house of cards must come crashing down. The whole world is in trouble with, for now, and backed by military might. The US dollar is simply the least bad of the world's currencies. US debt can be paid off, but only in the case of hyperinflation. It is easy to pay off trillions in debt when a loaf of bread costs hundreds of millions. Look at the recent history of Zimbabwe. The only problem is that when this occurs, no nation will accept US dollars. We will be on our own, isolated in the global economy we seek to promote. Chaos will reign, and millions will starve. Not an attractive scenario. The dollar is a debt obligation. Who needs debt obligations and why, if nobody will you ever fulfill these obligations? Nobody needs Federal Reserve notes, not even the Americans. The US can't pay its foreign debt of $29 trillion. The US doesn't collect enough revenues to pay the interest on the debt, so it keeps borrowing money from China to pay the interest. The total domestic indebtedness, debt including mortgages, credit cards, business debt etc. is $89 trillion. That is over 400% of GDP,